Everything you know about ancient power is a lie by omission. They didn't teach you about the ancient Maya rulers who actually ran the ancient Western Hemisphere. Your history teacher gave you Greece and Rome. Fantastic classical civilizations, yes. But they never mentioned the civilization that in many respects equaled that of Greece and Rome. They never mentioned the civilization that was mapping the cosmos, running trade empires, and producing warrior queens while Europe was still in the Dark Ages. I present to you 10 rulers, 10 leaders, thousands of years of history, and not one of them made it into your textbook. Because if they had, the whole story of the monolithic Western civilization falls apart. I am Solomon Pakal. I am a Kaqchikel Maya descendant. I am an occult researcher and practitioner of over 20 years. And this is the Mystery Codex. And into the mysteries we go. Now, before we start this countdown of Maya rulers, you can find the companion article in the link in the description below that will lead to my Substack. Now, number 10 is Marcus Canul of the Belizean Maya, who died in September of 1872. And you might be like, that's not ancient. Well, the leadership mantle most certainly connects from ancient times in a lot of cultural continuities. I wanted to diversify this list a bit and include some of the more closer to our timeline leaders, but we will get into ancient times. It's sad, but even most Belizeans didn't learn his name in school. That erasure is not an accident. It was a policy. While the caste war of Yucatan was tearing through the peninsula, the British were quietly doing what colonial powers do, expanding their logging operations into Maya land without consent and without compensation. Marcus Canul looked at the situation and made a decision. He organized his group of Maya to sustain a guerrilla resistance. He demanded the British crown pay rent, actual rent, for the lands that they were occupying. He led raids across northwestern Belize. He briefly seized Corozal town in 1870, and 2 years later, on September 1st, he led his forces into the Battle of Orange Walk. He was mortally wounded, but he did not retreat. He did not surrender. He actually died on the battlefield. This was a man who demanded land rent from the British Empire at near the heights of their powers in 1870, with full British military backing. This cannot be a historical footnote. This has to be a historical blueprint for leadership. But if you think a 19th century resistance fighter is impressive, wait until you meet the man who built the most powerful political empire in classic Maya history from the ground up, in number 9. So number 9 is Yuknoom II, or otherwise known as Yuknoom the Great, Lord of the Snake Kingdom Calakmul, ruled from 636 CE to 686 CE. He spent 50 years on the throne. Let that sink in. Calakmul was the seat of the Khan, or the Snake Dynasty, and Yuknoom the Great turned it into the dominant superpower of the Maya lowlands. He didn't do it purely through war, though. He did it through something more sophisticated. Architecture of loyalty, strategic marriages, client states, a web of alliances stretching 150 kilometers across the jungle that kept rivals in check and trade routes under Calakmul's control. Under his reign, Calakmul surrounded Tikal, the only city that could rival it, with allied powers on every side. He didn't need to destroy Tikal. He just needed Tikal to know who was in charge. He was buried, most likely, inside of Structure 2 at Calakmul, the largest pyramid at the site, one of the tallest in the entire Maya world. 50 years of dominance, and the man who finally broke his legacy had to wait until 9 years after Yuknoom's death to do it. We'll meet him later on in this list. But first, number 8 was a man who turned a near-death experience into a throne. If you want to support my work, please consider becoming a paid subscriber on my Substack, the Mystery Codex. Paid subscribers not only support my efforts in bringing the absolute best occult content to the various platforms, paid subscribers get access to the Practical Magic Vault, a collection of 4 full-length courses on general magic and manifestation, love magic, wealth magic, and spirit magic. These are not your run-of-the-mill Wikipedia or TikTok curated videos. I give you a process behind the methods informed by my over 20 years of experience in theory and practice, along with case studies to show you that I know what I'm talking about. On top of that, I release weekly content for paid subscribers only. And it's only $77 for the entire year. If you're ready to stop doom-scrolling magic DIYs on social media and ready to start making meaningful change with magic and manifestation, unlock the Practical Magic Vault today. Number 8 is Hunac, sometimes pronounced Hunac. He was the leader of Mayapán, which flourished in the 13th century CE. The sacred cenote at Chichen Itza is not a wishing well. Of sorts, maybe a hyper wishing well. Because it was actually a sacrificial portal. Offerings were thrown into this to communicate with the divine. Human offerings, even. Hunac dove in voluntarily after he was, long story short, kind of captured against his will. Now, he was bound and knotted when he was thrown into the cenote, but he surfaced and survived the kind of drowning process of the cenote. And as he was surviving this drowning process, he was spitting out prophecies. And it amazed the lieutenants and generals, if you will, of Chichen Itza. That act, whether you read it as spiritual courage, political theater, or some kind of genuine divine communication, it vaulted him from obscurity to the seat of power at the city of Mayapán. Fun fact, Mayapán was the first democracy, or the first recorded democracy, in the New World, prior to the arrival of Europeans. From Mayapán, he would go and overthrow the Itza Maya and establish Mayapán as the dominant city of the post-classic Yucatan. He understood something that every Maya ruler on this list understood. Power is not just military. Power is narrative. Control the story of what the gods want, and you control everything. But narrative alone won't stop a Spanish army. Number 7 chose to fight anyway. Number 7, Tecun Uman, leader of the Icaiche Maya people. These events were located in modern-day Guatemala. Tecun Uman died on February 20th, 1524. He was the last great military captain of the Icaiche Maya people, where he would meet Pedro de Alvarado's forces at the Battle of El Pinar. Alvarado had horses, steel armor, firearms, and indigenous allies already folded into his column. Tecun Uman had warriors training in the full weight of the Quiche kingdom behind him. He chose to fight head-on. He is now the national hero of Guatemala, but strip away the 20th century nationalist monument building, and what you have is a warrior priest who looked at a technologically superior colonial force and organized resistance anyways. He understood the stakes. He fought for his people's right to exist on their own terms. That choice, to resist when retreat or collaboration were available, it is not a small thing. It is the thing. Now, number 6 shows us that resistance doesn't always look like a battlefield. Sometimes it looks like a woman standing at the center of a ritual and bleeding to feed the cosmos. Number 6, Lady Shock of Yaxchilan, who flourished from 681 CE to 742 CE. The carved lintels of Yaxchilan are among the finest examples of Maya relief sculpture ever produced. Lady Shock appears on the most important ones, not as decoration, but as the central figure of power. She is depicted pulling a thorn-studded rope through her tongue. She is conjuring a vision serpent from the blood pooling in a basket beneath her. She is standing, robed and composed, while the spiritual infrastructure of Yaxchilan's military campaigns runs through her body. She was the primary wife of Shield Jaguar II, but the word consort does not cover what she actually did. Lady Shock provided the ritual legitimacy that made her husband's wars spiritually valid. Without her bloodletting ceremonies, those campaigns had no divine sanction. Without divine sanction, they had no authority, meaning the king had no authority to wage war without the queen's sacred bloodline. She didn't fight with weapons. She fought with her own metaphysical blood, and the Maya state ran on this metaphysical blood. But Lady Shuk operated as the power behind the throne. Number 5 held a title higher than her husband's and didn't need anyone's throne to do it. Number 5, Ixcabel, from the city-state of Huaca. Modern-day archaeologists have dubbed it El Peru, and it's in modern-day Guatemala. She flourished from 672 CE to 692 CE. She held the title of Calomte, a supreme military commander, a rank that surpassed her own husband's title of local lord. There's a lot of esoteric meanings to the translations of Calomte, but that's for another video and article. Ixcabel was a Snake Kingdom princess. Calakmul's blood ran through her veins, and when she married into Huaca, she brought Calakmul's entire political network with her as leverage. She didn't subordinate herself to her husband's authority. Her husband subordinated to hers. The inscriptions at the site called her Lady Serpent Lord. A jade portrait vessel discovered in her tomb likely depicts her face. She was buried with symbols of supreme command, and she earned them. But wielding inherited power is one thing. Number 4 arrived at a broken city with nothing and rebuilt it. If you want a personalized tour into the powers of Mayan astrology, book your birth chart reading with me today at MayanMysterySchool. Over the course of our sessions, we will deep dive into your innate spiritual qualities, subconscious instincts, how to maximize your relationships with others, analyze your darkest shadows, and outline a path towards your greatest good, prosperity, and highest quality of life. Here I package it all up for you in a custom 60-page plus ebook, as if it's a personally channeled grimoire made just for you, complete with illustration, information, instruction, and ritual prompts for the next 5 years, all based upon your Maya telluric astrological timing. This is unlike any other manifestation, magic, esoteric, or occult coaching program or course program out there. The depth, rarity of Mayan ancestral practice expertise, and actionable results makes your Mayan destiny divination a one-of-a-kind experience. Due to the immersion involved, I can only take a few clients on at a time. I look forward to working together. Number 4 is Lady Six Sky. And maybe judging from the name, I should put her at 6, but really this list is in no particular order. But Lady Six Sky was the ruler of the city of Naranjo, which flourished from 682 CE to 741 CE. Naranjo was in ruins when Lady Six Sky arrived from Dos Pilas in 682 CE. The city was devastated. Its political prestige was gone. Its monument production had stopped. Within years of her arrival, Naranjo was at war again. But this time, it was winning. Lady Six Sky commissioned monuments showing herself, standing atop bound captives. That is the posture of a conquering king, not a regent, not a placeholder for her son, but a ruler claiming military victory as her own. She did not govern through her son. She governed, period. Now, her son was technically the vehicle for succession because of the patrilineal system required a male heir on the throne in some capacity. But the power, the campaigns, the strategy, the diplomatic positioning, that was Lady Six Sky. She rebuilt a dead city and made it dangerous again. That is a category of a ruler most men on this list never had to prove themselves against. Now, number 3 was a man who waited 13 years for the right moment to strike, and when it came, he ended an empire in a single afternoon. Number 3 is Jasaw Chanca'awil of Tikal, from 682 to 734 CE. Tikal had been humiliated by Calakmul's Snake Kingdom under Yuknoom the Great and his successors. They had surrounded the city, broken its alliances, and suppressed its monument production by a generation. Tikal was politically alive but spiritually and strategically diminished. Jasaw Chanca'awil took the throne in 682 and spent 13 years rebuilding, quietly, patiently, and accumulating military strength all while Calakmul believed it had already won. In 695 CE, he marched on Calakmul and defeated Yuknoom Yikchaak, Yuknoom the Great's successor, in open battle. He captured the Snake King's ritual objects, and he ended 8 decades of Calakmul's dominance in a single engagement. He came home and built what archaeologists call Temple 1 at Tikal. It stands 47 meters tall, give or take, visible across the jungle canopy for miles. It's a monument you could see from Calakmul if the trees would let you, which at the time they probably did because of the urbanization. 13 years of patience, one decisive morning, the entire balance of classic Maya civilization shifted. But for number 2, we're going to talk about a man who inherited the greatest legacy in Maya history and matched it stone by stone. Number 2 is Kaqchikel Bahlam II of Palenque, who was born on May 23rd, 635. Now he ruled, though, from 684 to 702 CE. This week we mark the birth anniversary of one of the most sophisticated ruler priests the ancient world has ever produced. Kaqchikel Bahlam II inherited Palenque from his father, Pakal the Great. Now, Palenque did not wither for a second in transition from father to son. Kaqchikel Bahlam commissioned the Temple of the Cross complex, 3 temples, each encoding a different dimension of Maya cosmology: the creation myth, celestial mechanics, and divine kingship. All 3 written in stone, oriented to astronomical events, designed to function as a theological argument that would outlast every ruler who came after him. He was 48 years old when he finally took the throne. He had waited his entire adult life for it. He had spent years living in his father's court, absorbing all the knowledge that an heir should. When he finally ruled, he didn't waste a single day. He was not just a king. He was a cosmological architect. Every building commissioned under his reign is a sentence in a larger argument about the nature of time, the movements of gods through sky, and the divine right of Palenque's dynasty to exist. He built a case in stone that lasted 13 centuries. And the man who raised him? The man who rebuilt Palenque from the ashes of military defeat and turned it into the crown jewel of the ancient American landscape, is number 1. Number 1, Kaqchikel Pakal, otherwise known as Pakal the Great of Palenque, who ruled from 615 to 683 CE. 68 years on the throne. He took power at the age of 12. Before Pakal, Palenque had been sacked by Calakmul twice over. In 599 CE and again in 611 CE, it was sacked by Calakmul. The city's most senior nobles were dead. Palenque's dynasty was in crisis, and yet a 12-year-old boy took the throne. What followed was one of the most extraordinary reigns in the history of the ancient Americas. Pakal did not just rebuild Palenque, he transformed it into the artistic, cosmological, and political crown jewel of the classic Maya world. The main palace, the aqueduct, the Temple of the Inscriptions. 68 years of construction and governance, warfare, and theological vision, all flowing through one mind. His tomb was discovered in 1952 by archaeologist Alberto Ruz. He was buried beneath the Temple of the Inscriptions in a sealed crypt that had been hidden for over 1,200 years. The sarcophagus lid is one of the most studied objects in all of Mesoamerican archaeology. A carved map of the cosmos depicting Pakal's descent into the underworld and his resurrection as the maize god. The cycle of death and rebirth written in stone. He was buried in jade, surrounded by offerings that archaeologists are still cataloging. He ascended to some kind of ancestral divinity. After 68 years reshaping time itself, you begin to understand why. These rulers did not live in the past. They live in the present tense, in bloodlines and ceremonial calendars, in resistance movements, and it carved in stone as well. The Maya world never went extinct. It was simply always transforming, shedding its skin over and over again like a snake. And the people who came from it are still here, and they are still Maya. If this video or article shifted something for you, please share it. The algorithm buries content like this that is actually good. You sharing this is a counterspell of resistance against the Archons. Be sure to like, comment, share, subscribe, especially to my Substack, which is the hub for all of my long-form content. Become a paid subscriber if you want to support my work. And stay tuned for more decolonizing spirituality.